Hi, I'm Will Townsend, Vice President and Principal Analyst with Moor Insights Strategy. I manage the networking and security practices for my firm. And joining me here at the LoRaWAN live event in Orlando is Remi Demerle. He is the chair of the Smart Utilities Working Group within the LoRa Alliance. Remi, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you, Will, for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here in Orlando. It's an important event for the LoRa Alliance. At Semtech, I work as marketing director to sustain development of the LoRa ecosystem. And here I'm, as you said, a chair of the Smart Utilities Work Group. My role is to help enterprises to connect with utilities in order to maximize efficiency first, but also to help in more sustainable goals.
Well, let's start with my first question. So I understand that there's a panel at the event this week that's focused on sustainability. And you and I talked before we planned this chat. And I know that there are certain things that, that LoRaWAN can enable from a power and water conservation perspective, and would love to get your further insights on that.
Yeah, it's not by accident that we had delivered this panel, which had a great audience yesterday. Mm-hmm. It's because since 2015, the United Nations have set a program for action plan, real action that can provide a better society, a better environment, and help, of course, enterprises and individuals to act. So the LoRa Alliance is willing to take part of that. So we had last year a Smarter Planet theme program. Mm-hmm. And over the last events, we have always been presenting solutions, use cases that are proving benefits along these goals. Mm-hmm. So here with number 6 goal, which is about clean water and sanitation, mm-hmm. We address the question of how to protect more water with LoRaWAN technology. Mm-hmm. There are also other, I would say, sessions that have been touched about the urgency of the world water crisis, mm-hmm. which was given by Zener USA. Zener USA is a major meter manufacturer, and they presented, for example, how their technology of smart water metering was capable to reduce the number of leaks, mm-hmm. by detection of gaps in the data. Gaps like, for example, over the night, there is a steady flow, which reveals a possible leak.
Right.
Others, like Mueller, have also water meter technology, leak detection, and they presented in the panel Protect Water all the benefit for cities, municipalities, and water utilities to save more water. Mm-hmm. Other examples exist over the world, like, for example, Veolia France, where I'm coming from. So I know that story very well. They save 4 million of cubic meter by the year of 2022 with 1.7 million water meters. So we continue to accumulate stories like that, but we have also extended in the panel to the question of about the water source in, for example, the Lake Erie in mm-hmm. US. Mm-hmm. There was a question how to monitor quality of water. It's not anymore about metering, it's about monitoring parameters like pH, chloride, etc., mm-hmm. To secure that the water intake for the city of Cleveland mm-hmm. was not receiving too much, let's say, polluted water, right. or to detect ahead of the water distribution process. Another example, and sorry just to repeat that, was well presented by Limno Technology, mm-hmm. which is using a Senet network here. The other use case that I found remarkable was given by Apana, an American company based in Seattle, where they help buildings, commercial buildings, mm-hmm. we are speaking about a superstore like Costco, for example. Right.
I spend way too much money at Costco, personally.
and perhaps you could ask them how much water they are saving. Right. Because that's exactly the point of the LoRaWAN benefit for them. Yeah. They are fond of the technology that supports Apana with LoRa and LoRaWAN. They help to monitor better energy and water
Yeah.
in all their superstore, and it's
Right.
just spreading all over US.
Well, just one store in particular is massive, right? I mean, when you walk in, I get overwhelmed, and I can imagine if you start multiplying that by the number of stores and using LoRaWAN to help manage that, it's got to be a tremendous impact. And I continue to be impressed with how LoRaWAN is really driving sustainability in all of these use cases.
Yeah.
It's something that the association, the alliance, can really hang its hat on.
So that's why we want to promote those use cases among all use cases are important for
Right.
members. We absolutely agree with that. But on the top, there is a kind of urgency. If we realize what is important for the world, we should quadruple the efforts we have spent since 2015 for the last 7 years.
Right.
The next 7 years, we should do 4 times more.
Sure.
That tells you how important it's getting urgent for enterprises and individuals to act upon the program
Right.
or the call for action.
Right. Let's talk about standardization. This has been a challenge in IoT for many years, and this is an area that I think, LoRaWAN is really, driving some significant impact. And so, but I want to frame that within kind of the respect of, smart utilities. What's happening, what needs to happen from your perspective to continue the standardization for smart utilities?
As you know, the LoRaWAN is an open network protocol
Right.
that is recognized by the ITU. It's supported and specified by the LoRa Alliance, so it's important and tremendous work to
Right.
provide this, but not only, but to certify devices,
Right.
which creates for the end user insurance of reliability. It's the same protocol. It corresponds to exactly the expectation set. It allows to have networks that are open to receive different sensors, but also sensors to be used in different networks. So it's a key feature. We continue in this effort to move on top of the network protocol to support also open standards. It's the same philosophy we found with important and major standard associations, such as DNMS for smart electricity, for example, but not only, and also OMS, which is another association.
Right.
Both are very active. I will say on a world basis, DNMS is having a mandate with ISO IEC. That means the specification they have done for LoRaWAN have become international standards supported by ISO,
Okay.
which is pretty good because there is no other equivalent.
I mean, that's a pretty high bar that the ISO, organization sets.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like, are you quality compliant? Yes, I am ISO
ISO
2000.
compliant.
Okay, so
Yeah.
here we are. You want a smart metering data exchange that is an international standard, you get it.
Right.
And you can use LoRaWAN with that.
Right. Now, I understand you're moderating a panel on this subject this week, correct? Has that already happened, or is it about to happen while we're recording?
No. I could send you the recording, of
Okay.
course, but it's, I would say, important to have here. We have done several actions to educate, to introduce the technology, to present also the first demos and first adopters. Here we wanted to focus on a country in Brazil where members of LoRa Alliance have done, I would say, the extra mile to convince the local regulator, local association in Brazil, to adopt in Portuguese the specification of DLMS for LoRaWAN. As a result, after an effort of 1 year and a half, they had this stamp approved, and they have first deployments with 20,000 meters. So it's already getting fast.
Right.
You have the ecosystem with the module ready, the network ready, the system integrator ready. So we have now, of course, customers to address. But that's how we say how you create a momentum representing that all the technical work, certification work have been cleared, they are completed. Now you have the market adoption.
Yeah, that's fascinating. My father was actually born in Brazil, and I have family members in Rio and Sao Paulo as well. You wouldn't know it looking at me. I got more of the German in my family. But I know Brazil is a very challenging market. It tends to be sort of protectionist and that sort of thing. And so it's amazing to hear that story. Thanks for sharing that. But I'd like to shift the conversation to safety. And you and I talked a little before this recording. I'm from Texas. And in Texas, we operate our own power grid. It's managed by an entity called ERCOT. And we've had some weather-related events. We've had some cold weather events that have been unseasonable that caused power outages and that sort of thing. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, since you chair the Smart Utilities Group, what is LoRaWAN doing to sort of reduce the risk of power outages and really improve overall grid resilience? And please talk to our Governor Abbott in Texas to get LoRaWAN implemented within the ERCOT system.
I'm okay. I had been myself in Texas a couple of times.
Okay.
So I'm educated with it's important. Don't mess with the grid in Texas. So, the LoRa Alliance has the capacity to support many applications. We admit, but there are some limits in terms of, for example, network latency. You cannot have less than a minimum of 1 second, which can be not good for high latency. There are some limits, but if you consider the perspective of having for still easy and low-cost solution that can help to monitor better the smart grid as a complementary wireless network sensor. So you have the perfect technology with LoRaWAN. Why that? Because utilities are fond of, as we said, of open and easy to use standard. That's what LoRaWAN brings. Now you need sensors. We have a couple of sensors that are, for example, for short circuit detection that eliminate the risk of not finding where has been occurred this short circuit because they are located and the data is integrated into SCADA. This has been proven, for example, in Switzerland, not very far from Germany.
Right.
Another occasion to go to Europe. And when you will visit their site, as I've done, what was important in terms of risks and damages for power outage was typically in mountains, ski lift being stopped due to a power outage. Yeah. So this kind of sensor can be excellent to minimize the time to respond because they identify exactly what it happens. Other, I would say, applications are line fault monitoring. They are used in different countries, in Italy for also management of critical pylons, critical infrastructure. And it's a huge market. In US, it's more than 180 million poles of a voltage line that could be monitored. And there are two possible benefits of that. One is, of course, the resilience. The other one is to eliminate some risk of possible forest fire.
Right. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
If the cable drops down to the ground, if there is a short circuit that happens, that could ignite a fire.
Right. Well, I know that in the city of Austin where I live, so I live in the capital, when we had these snow events and lines were down, it took hours, if not days, just to figure out where the lines went down. And had they deployed a solution like LoRaWAN, they would have been able to identify those down power lines right away. They would have been able to restore service more quickly. I mean, I live in central Austin. It took over 3 days for them to restore power. I mean, I didn't feel like I was living in the United States. I felt like I was living on an island somewhere, you know. And we take our utilities for granted, don't we? I mean, we expect water to come out. We expect when we flip a light switch for it to work. And when it doesn't, that creates stress.
Exactly. The people are asking for more services, more quality, so to speak. But in a reverse attitude, we have also a duty to bring the information that will help them to change behavior. For example, do you mind if some application tells you that you've forgotten to switch off the light when you've left?
Right.
Or that perhaps temperature is not necessarily due to the weather condition. You could stop the heater.
Right.
So there are multiple applications where we should not only be in the expectation, but also be in the active, I would say, behavior. So the utilities are more and more. I'm collecting these inputs from utilities from UK, from France, but also Spain. And here I also start to hear the same. Mm-hmm. Utilities must prove how they bring behavior change. Yeah. How they help their end customer to understand better. Mm-hmm. Apana is doing that exactly with Costco, for example. Right. But it's not here in the context of a utility. What I'm describing is how utilities must first ensure service, quality of service, so they need resilience, but also how they drive change behavior because population grows, density grows, and you cannot accumulate more and more water without saving, without, I would say, reducing the leaks, etc., other problems. Sure.
I think from my perspective, it's shifting from a reactive mode to a proactive mode.
That's the goal.
Both proactive from the utility out to the customer, and from the customer back as well. To your point, you provided a few examples there. You know, reminding people to shut off the light, or lower or raise the temperature, or do whatever. Because when you do that and you conserve, it provides improved resiliency just based on user behavior, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And one other question you had asked is about safety. And for example, for gas installation, you have 70 million of houses and businesses that are using gas for heating. Yeah. And it's critical that they can be safe in terms of possible gas leaks to be alerted. We have seen some first gas leak sensors available with LoRaWAN from members such as CNI Guard, Elikens, New Cosmo, etc. And some have been already deployed and installed by ProSentry and Senate in New York or New Jersey. So they had been very successful in this first proof of concept. But also, Semtech with the Gas Technology Institute of Chicago have completed trials and tests that prove you can switch off, shut off a gas meter, for example, or with a gas valve, once you have detected a concentration of methane or CO2 in the space or in the building. So safety is important, and that's something that I foresee will be a major change in the way people consider how IoT can be used not only for convenience, comfort, but also safety.
I mean, it can save lives. I mean, that's pretty powerful.
That's the first purpose is honestly for the gas utility to avoid a risk of exposure and then the bad consequences, but also to start also reducing possible risks or possible, I would say, usage over the time.
Well, great. Well, Remi, thanks for your time. It's been a very insightful conversation, and I wish you the best with the rest of the conference.
Thank you very much. Thank you.